Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to Albert. Or you're going to speak first, I guess?
Yeah, I'll just kind of introduce and give you a roadmap. First, I really wanted to thank the council. I know this is on your council agenda and not on the redevelopment agenda. We really appreciate the council accommodating us tonight. We're going to try and keep this as tight as possible. I know there's a lot of people here who probably have questions, but so our presentation, by the way, this is the 7th time we've presented this informally, which, you know, we've talking about transparency before, so this is the 7th time we've been here, not here, but 7th time the public has had a chance to look at this. And through that 2-year process, we have tweaked, adjusted our concept based on feedback that the council has given, administration, and the public. Our presentation tonight is going to be limited to 3 topics. Number 1, design. Number 2, operation of the artist studios. And 3, traffic. We picked these 3 because coming out of our last meeting, those were 3 areas of focus that we wanted to concentrate on based on what we've heard. Tonight, you're going to hear from Dean Marchetto, who's going to talk about design. Then you're going to hear from Tom Werder of Morris Arts to talk about operation of the studio space. Finally, you hear from Justin Taylor from Dynamic, who's going to talk about traffic. With respect to design, we have arrived, I think you'll hopefully agree, at what is the most unique and most beautiful self-storage facility to ever be built in this state, or anywhere else for that matter. With the expanded artist studio space, the project will deliver a public benefit that will put Morristown on the arts map. And we are committed to making this resource available to artists of all socioeconomic background. As you'll hear in a bit, Morris Street is one of the busier streets in town. And you'll hear from our traffic expert that from a traffic perspective, self-storage is one of the lowest, if not the lowest impact projects that you could build. So what's changed since the last time, if you were here before? First, we have completely redesigned the storage facility. Second, we've reduced the size of the storage portion of the facility by about 6,000 square feet. It's about 6% of the total size. We've expanded the artist studio by 800 square feet. These are the major changes that you will see in our presentation tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dean Marchetto. Council, is there a reason to swear him in? This is an informal presentation. No. Terrific. All right, Dean, take it over. Thanks.
Thank you for allowing me to present this tonight. My name is Dean Marchetto. I'm an architect and founding principal of my firm, Marchetto Higgins CV Architects, located in Hoboken, New Jersey. We've been there for 35 years. We are an award-winning architectural firm. Our firm specializes in enhanced architectural design, and we are the design architects for the storage facility. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you 3 parts of the presentation. First, I'm going to just show you a few of the buildings that we've done in Morristown, just so you can get familiar with the projects that we've done. We're very proud to have had the opportunity to develop designs for your buildings in Morristown. And then I'm going to show you some images that helped us formulate a concept for what this facility should look like. And then finally, I'm going to show you the final design. What we're going to do is show 2 realistic renderings, very enhanced and detailed renderings of what the building will look like. So there'll be no design elements left not discussed. Okay, so with that, when we start, I'm going to, if you don't mind, sit down and do this machine. Okay, so this is a building we completed in town just about a year or 2 ago. It's on Mount Kemble between Bank and Market Street. It's an office building for Fox Rothschild. This building is a brick facade that ties it back to historical material of older historic Morristown. Has a zinc facade and an overhang that kind of enhances its position, almost like a Flatiron building in New York, and it is really an iconic landmark, I think, approaching Morristown from Mount Kemble, and it sets up a nice introduction to as you approach the town green. This is another view of the building on Market Street. And here you can see, again, it's a brick building with a metal facade to kind of break it up. And you may be aware that right here at this location, there's a 10-foot wide pass-through that takes you from Market Street down to Bank Street and to the Ann Street Garage. So this is a building that is designed to integrate into the neighborhood. It's a difficult site to work on such a pie-shaped property, but I think we've accomplished a real beauty here. I think it's a landmark coming into town. This next building was just completed on Hart Street. This is almost completed photograph. This building, according to the redevelopment plan, calls for a loft-style architecture. And what we did here is we went into Soho and Tribeca and tried to find the origins of the original Soho-style cast iron lofts. Many of you may know that cast iron buildings have not been built. This is an old technology. So what we've done here is we've created a facade that hangs off the building, creates an arcade and a covered walkway underneath, has all the detailing of those Soho, Tribeca type buildings, and it's made with a zinc facade. So while we can't make buildings out of cast iron anymore, we decided to use an actual natural zinc over the entire facade. There aren't many buildings like this. I think it's truly a landmark building. We expect this one to win an award. And this is a view. You may know the entrance into the town parking garage on Hart Street. So we built this building over the top of the entrance. This is the alley connecting Market and the Hart. And basically, this is a building that has a brick box, and then this zinc facade pops off, creates this arcade for covered walking, and reduces the overall scale of the building. The building would have been from this side all the way to here, but by creating a fragmented facade that pops off with a new material, we're able to reduce the overall apparent scale of the building in a project like this. And this is about to get started. This is right next to the Fox Rothschild building. This is Market Street. This is a brick loft style building for residential units with retail and restaurant down on the ground floor. What's special about this building to me is that we've deliberately pushed the building back from the street to be able to create a public space on the sidewalk, a place where people can eat and dine outside in the good weather. This is a residential building, and on the far side, it opens up to Bank Street. This building is about to get started. It was approved recently, and we hope that a year from now, this will be up or nearly completed. This one has this one will have 54 residential units, and you can see up here on the roof there's a rooftop amenity, and you can see the brick detailing and the depth of the facade and the window details. But this is another building we're very proud of, and I feel like I've had a great opportunity to do some nice things here in Morristown. So the next thing I'd like to show you is what we think what the idea is for this project on the storage building. Basically, we felt that the concept here should be a brick loft building, an authentic brick loft building that had looked like it was converted to a storage use. And so we looked at some buildings, these kinds of authentic loft buildings, and what's authentic about a building like this is the depth of the facade, the details. You can see up here the cornice, the details up in here, and of course the big windows. Those are some of the characteristics. This is another one, kind of a loft building that's had inserted new windows. And this one is just a plain old one as well. What I liked about this one is that the signage on this building is kind of really historic. It's like a painted sign that they had, and it kind of fades over time. And then, as you know, we have the artist component. So the idea would be to take a brick loft building that we convert it to storage, and then to attach to it a contemporary arts piece in the front on Morris Street And this is an idea for what that modern contemporary addition to an old loft building could look like. We also thought that the inside was important as well. As you will see in the renderings, the building has real windows, they're not blocked out windows, and when you look through the windows, instead of seeing brightly colored orange or yellow storage units that you might see in some of those storage buildings on the highway, you will see here wood facade, well lit, so it really feels like not only on the outside, but on the inside it has an authentic interior, and that these could have been wooden storage units in the original loft building. These kinds of doors, kind of original rolling doors made out of metal, and maybe a lobby that could have this kind of retro loft style with industrial-like fixtures. So this was our first sketch of the building. This is that brick facade that sets back, and then this is the artist loft, the artist studios that pop out onto Morristown, and the entrance to the storage facility was here. There's a big steel canopy over the top with these detailed kind of like chain supports, and then letters that would be painted on. So this was our original sketch. We felt that what made this feel authentic was the thickness and the depth of the facade. What we propose to use here is regular common brick, so it really has the right mortar and the right size proportion of the materials. So now, this here is our rendering of what it would look like sort of in a dusk shot, looking at the building with the artist lofts on the right, the entrance to the storage here, and you can see these windows in the evening would be lit, and you'll be able to see through those windows looking at more of a historic loft interior of walls, which would be made out of wood. As you know from the previous presentations, the entrance to the parking area is here, and the loading dock is on the left. And what we're proposing is to have kind of a modern industrial style lamppost. And there'll be trees along the street in front, as you know. And I think what we're proposing to do is this kind of historic style signage painted on the building. And one last shot I would like to present is the view during the daytime from the other side, looking at the other angle. And again, you can see the artist lofts, more of a contemporary addition, kind of glass and steel, popped off the front of what would be a traditional brick loft style industrial building. You can see also up here the signage and the brick detailing, the depth of the facade, different layers of brick, common brick. And we think that given that there's a towing use on the right side of this property, that this building would be a great transitional style building. I think it's a handsome building. I think it really will add to the character of the neighborhood. And I think it creates a nice buffer or transition between the residential buildings on the left side of this building and the towing. It almost acts like a buffer in that sense. And so this is the conclusion of my presentation. Just wanted to show you the overall styling and the concept that we came up with for the design.
At this time, are we going to be hearing from the operations of the...
Yeah, I'm assuming that we'll address all questions at the end. We can recall these witnesses as...
Yeah, I think we should get through the presentation.
Yeah, this is Tom Werder from Morristown.
Good evening. Tom Werder, Executive Director for Morristown. So we're very excited about, obviously, the increase in size of the storage studio space since we last spoke. The 23% increase leaves us with just over 3,500 square feet of space to subdivide into artist studio spaces. We're imagining that could be 7 artist studios, or it might be one larger shared studio and 5 smaller studios, We're not exactly sure how it will subdivide, but it gives us quite a bit more space to deal with. We're very excited about that. I won't go through, I think you were given a packet of information that looks like this. I won't go through every bullet point in that packet, just some of the things that we've done some work on since we last spoke. Morris Arts will form an artist selection panel. I know there's some concern about how artists will be selected to participate in this project. That panel will include Morris Arts staff, subject matter experts, and a voting member from the Morristown Council. Factors that will be considered in selecting the artists will be, of course, the artist's experience and reputation, the medium that they work in, their ability to pay, an in-person interview, and diversity and equity. Diversity and equity are in Morris Arts' strategic plan is one of our major goals, and we're committed to pursuing that goal in this project as well as all the other work that we do. One studio space will be reserved for a Morristown resident, although there's certainly no limit on the number of Morristown resident artists who would participate in this project, assuming everybody meets the criteria. Studio space, we expanded the time that the studios would be open from 9 o'clock to 8 p.m. And with an extended hours to 10 p.m., but only with the approval of Morris Arts, showing that the extended hours are essential to the artist's work and doesn't create a light or noise nuisance in the neighborhood. And we do have a Morris Arts staff member who's going to be responsible for the day-to-day operation and maintenance of the studios. And I know there was a question about when we have special events here. We did talk about parking the last time. And we think that parking for special events will be accommodated by on-street parking. People will access it by walking and riding bikes. And there is the Highlands Garage over by the train station.
No comments from members of the public, please, during the presentation.
These events, we imagine these events happening in off-peak hours, evening time, that kind of thing. So we're not going to be in competition with some of the parking needs during the day. If there is overflow need for our events, we would consider utilizing a jitney service or something from the parking garages, similar to what the Mayo Performing Arts Center does. And we're also looking forward to the new parking deck that's going to be built behind where the farmers market is currently located. So we're very excited about the changes that have been made since the last time we spoke with you, and we'll be here to answer questions at the end.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Justin Taylor. He's going to be talking about traffic. And also for the public, I do have a handout that I gave to the council members on the artist studio operation. It has a lot of detail in it. I'm going to leave it up here if you'd like a copy.
Hi, how's it going? My task in this project, I know you've been to several meetings through this whole thing, was to kind of take a look at what kind of traffic impact the proposed zoning and self-storage facility was going to have, both on the surrounding roadway network, but also in conjunction with what actually could be an underlying zoning constructed or is contemplated on the site. To start off with, I'm sure you've seen the site plan, you understand what the access is going to be, but the kind of traffic perspective.
Speak up a little bit.
Sorry.
The microphone.
Okay, so from an access perspective, what we're looking to do is to consolidate the access points that are currently on the site in 4 curb cuts down to one single full movement driveway along Morris Street. What this does is allow us to concentrate the traffic turning movements at one location and really allow for the arcade that you see both in the rendering and on behind you on the screen to allow that pedestrian connectivity and improve pedestrian flow along that section, reducing both vehicular and pedestrian conflicts. The next thing we really took a look at was, as I said, what kind of traffic is a project like this going to generate?
Please speak up.
In the beginning of the presentation, you heard from in our opening statement how self-storage facility or these artist spaces are relatively minimal traffic generators, and they are. They're really low traffic generators from an overall perspective comparative to other things that could be developed, such as retail or residential units. What we project for a site such as this is approximately 18 to 30 cars during any one of those peak hours, or a car every 2 to 3 minutes during that busiest time. If you were to look at a retail establishment that could be developed on this site, you're looking at 5 to 8 times that, or about 150 cars during that same time period. So what we felt was the traffic impact was being minimalized by this type of use. We also had the opportunity to take a quick look at how this driveway would physically operate from a traffic capacity standpoint. We actually went out and conducted traffic counts along the roadway to figure out what kind of traffic is currently there, and then we surcharge our traffic onto that roadway. And what we find is the driveway is going to operate at levels of service D or better during any of the peak hours, with an average delay of between 20 and 30 seconds during that peak hour. So based upon all of that, we really felt that the proposed development from a traffic and circulation standpoint is adequately being designed and won't have any detrimental impact to the surrounding roadway network.
Is that it?
That's what I got.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I mean, the board is up there really just as a comparison of the trip generation as I spoke to really put the numbers in perspective. But
Could you possibly go up to that board so the public can hear you better and talk to the public about what numbers you have there? And the stand mic, I don't think that's your voice, but if you could project out to the public what those numbers are.
absolutely, let me spin this back around to everybody. What this board represents is the traffic that is projected to be generated by several different uses on the site. We have at the bottom what we are currently proposing, the self-storage facility and the art studio. And as I spoke to, what we're talking about is about 18 trips or 10 cars during that evening peak hour after work as people are coming to this storage facility. And on Saturday, what we're looking at is 32 trips or about 16 cars, again, during that busy Saturday commuting shopping hour. In hour, what, per hour? Yes, that's during the busiest hour there is throughout the day. But what we look at from a traffic perspective is that busiest hour because that gives us a worst case scenario for an analysis standpoint. What this exhibit is really kind of supposed to represent is we also ran it. We took a look at what type of retail we could adequately park and design on the site. And we found we could design about a 17,000 square foot shopping center. This, as I spoke to, would generate between 146 and 153 trips during that same PM and Saturday peak hour, or 5 to 8 times what the proposed project would. We also took a look at a residential development of approximately 90 apartments. And again, the comparison is about 54 trips during the evening as people returning, and about 64 trips on Saturday as you're coming to and from home and back and forth to shopping and to other things on a Saturday afternoon. And again, what we're looking at is 2 to 3 times what the proposed project would be generating. So that's where I basically draw my conclusion that the impact of the proposed development is minimal compared to other things that could be developed on the site. That's also the numbers that we utilized in the capacity analysis that I spoke to ensure that these vehicles exiting the site can do it safely and efficiently.
Councilwoman, that concludes our presentation. Of course, you're going to have comments, and we're prepared to